Why Web3 social will transcend its Web2 counterparts? That's the question that we are answering today. And so we've been hearing tons about Web3 social media platforms lately. But if you haven't been keeping up, you're probably wondering why we need Web3 social when we've already got Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and more. Well, it all comes down to who holds the power. In Web 2, power lies with corporations who seek to maximize revenue. But in Web 3, it's all about giving power back to users and creators, enabling the best user experience possible. So, in this deep dive, I'll cover more on what's wrong with centralized social media platforms and all the ways that Web3 Social offers a better option. So, here's what you need to know if you're still a fan of Web2 Social. If you're a creator, public figure, or simply running a business that revolves around or is based on social media, which is basically all businesses at this point, then you know exactly what's wrong with our current platforms. But for everyone else, here's what you should know about Web2 Social. Censorship is common on Web2 platforms. The minority, so executives, board members, etc., decide how Web2 Social is run. Users don't own their data, and security is an afterthought. So let's dive into these four separate problems and break them down further. Censorship is rife. Now, censorship is a touchy subject because some level of censorship is a good idea. For example, when it comes to sharing the private details of other individuals or doxing, uploading illegal or copyrighted material such as movies, hateful content such as the anti-Semitic remarks that Kanye shared recently, and graphic content such as violence or pornographic material. Censorship also helps to curb propaganda, such as some of the content you likely saw during the early and middle stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. However, there's a fine line between good censorship and limiting content just because it doesn't fit a platform's political agenda. Now, I'll preface this by saying I'm not a big fan of politics in general, and that I don't really have an opinion on who is in the right here. But love him or hate him, Twitter permanently banning Trump from the social network can be seen as censorship going too far. While there was obviously some tension around the election, nothing he said explicitly incited violence. Instead, it was Twitter's interpretation that got him banned. Another example is when Facebook decided to force business pages to advertise on the platform because their content wouldn't be shown organically. Well, this isn't outright censorship, it still forced businesses to pay to play. So again, it's not about their opinion on the person who was censored or what was censored. It's the fact that it can be censored. And that's the problem. So the minority runs the show. Like the Facebook example above, Web2 social networks put profits in board members before users. Do you think Facebook made that move to improve the platform's user experience? Right? As much as they'd argue it is, Facebook's advertising revenue makes up 97.6% of its total revenue. On the other hand, you have Elon Musk and Twitter. Since he bought the platform, he's made some serious changes in hopes of reviving the platform. However, not long after he shared that Twitter could be close to bankruptcy. Imagine trying to build your social profile when platforms like these could change their policies or shut down a platform at any time. An ex-Facebook whistleblower even recently testified that the company puts profits over people's safety. She also shared some internal documents regarding an algorithm change in 2018 that Facebook knew would favor sensationalistic clickbait content. Now, let's go to the third one, which is data ownership, or what data ownership really. On the note of building social profiles, one of the biggest problems in Web 2 is that users don't own their data. You could spend years building your presence on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and have it disappear in an instant. Whether you choose Facebook or Twitter, the platforms themselves own and benefit most from your content. Creators generate tons of content, bringing more eyes to the platforms they post on and making the platforms more attractive to advertisers. The problem here is that creators get very little remuneration for their effort. For example, Facebook earned $117.9 billion in 2021. But what did the platform do with this revenue? They decided that in 2022, they'd pay $1 billion in total to the platform's creators. $1 billion. That's less than 1% of the revenue they generated in 2021. And if you don't like Facebook's terms, well, there's not much you can do besides post on other platforms with similar revenue structures. You can't even take your followers or content with you, even though it was your hard work that built your following. And just to give an example here, I had my own Facebook account blocked, still is today, still don't know why. And not only was I running a business on Facebook, so this basically completely ruined my business, but it also removed all of my childhood photos and photos from friends and stuff in high school. So it really sucked, to be completely honest. But that's the power that they have, right? And they still have never told me why, which is pretty crazy. So, but what if you're a consumer rather than a creator? Well, creator revenue probably doesn't bother you, right? But what should bother you is the amount of data mining that happens on these platforms so they can offer hyper targeted advertising. Web2 platforms collect and analyze user data. Think things like clicks, view time, and other actions that you're doing on the platform, and effectively monetizing your data without giving you anything in return, besides a platform with some decent content. Something doesn't add up here. And then poor security, which is probably something we don't really think too much about. But let's think about this. Centralized systems are much easier to hack than their decentralized counterparts. So it's no surprise that Web2 social platforms have fallen victim to hacks many times over the years. How many? Well, Facebook leads the charge with 8 data breaches, with the most notable, while not technically a data breach, being the Cambridge Analytica scandal, which saw Facebook selling 87 million users' data. This wasn't even a data breach. They actually just gave it to these businesses. Twitter has experienced 4 data breaches, with the most notable being 330 million account passwords being exposed due to a code glitch. And even LinkedIn has had 4 breaches, with the most notable being a breach of 165 million user accounts. Seems like they're too focused on monetizing your data rather than working on security. But there is a better choice, and it's coming. And this is why Web3 social is better for users. The future of social media is here, and that future lives in Web3 on top of Lens protocol. Web2 social platforms are broken and ripe for disruption. You see, the epicenter of social media is the creators, and yet they are the most neglected. Web2 platforms like Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram are all essentially robbing creators of their worth. Creators are a new type of entrepreneur, forming new types of businesses. Yet with Web2 platforms, creators don't own their content or their profiles, and that's their product and business. Instead, they are tied to the platforms they choose to create on. Well, just like how crypto is freeing us from banks, Web3 is freeing us from these centralized platforms. On Lens protocol, creators own their content, own their profile, and even their social graph and followers in the form of NFTs. This allows you to move freely from one social application to another with your content, profile, and followers moving along with you. Lens protocol enables self-sovereignty for your social graph and interoperability across the internet. At Web3 Academy, we believe this is the future of social, and that's why we've partnered with Lens to ensure that the path of social media is heading in the right direction. Visit lens.xyz to learn more today.
Unlock Protocol is the NFT membership protocol for Web3. Content subscriptions, community access, event tickets are all forms of memberships, one of the most common business models for creators and entrepreneurs today. Building an NFT membership opens many new possibilities for your members. Everything from tailored multi-platform experiences to the ability to sell an unfinished subscription on secondary markets. These are things just not possible in Web 2. However, in order for this business model to work, creators need NFTs which are time-bound or have built-in recurring payments. Unlock Protocol does this for your NFTs. Better yet, with a few simple steps, you can create your own NFT contract without code. What WordPress has done for websites, Unlock Protocol is doing for membership NFTs. If you're an NFT creator, you can't rely on royalties as they are likely going to zero. You need recurring revenue. You need Unlock. At Web3 Academy, we believe NFT memberships are the future of business and community. And that's why we decided to build on Unlock. Learn more at unlock-protocol.com.
Web3 social networks put users first rather than profits. They're focused on building a better experience where users don't have to put up with centralized authorities who make decisions in their own best interests. Web3 social platforms actually care about what creators and users think, allowing them to shape the features and vision of the social network they use. But to get more specific, there are 6 reasons why I believe Web3 social will overcome Web2 in the coming years. Let me break those down for you real quick. 1, interoperability and composability put user experience first. This one's super exciting. 2, there's less censorship thanks to decentralization. 3, users actually own the networks they build regardless of the platforms they use. 4, creators don't have to put up with the platform's monetization policy, but can instead decide on monetization themselves. This is one of the most exciting, in my opinion. Number 5, you'll be able to verify your identity without having to share personal information. And number 6, Web3 is much more secure, ensuring your personal data is safe. So let's break these down a little further so you can actually grasp these concepts and understand them and and make sense of each. So let's start with interoperability and composability, allowing for better UX. Interoperability refers to Web3 protocols being able to interact with each other without the need for extra permission. For example, dApps built on Lens protocol, which is a decentralized social graph, can easily interact with each other since they all share the underlying technology. In Web 2, this would be like Facebook and Instagram being linked since they're owned by the same company or Meta. Except in Web 3, ownership doesn't determine which dApps and protocols can interact. It's about the open source technology they share, which leads to composability. The composable open source nature of blockchain means that developers don't need to constantly code platforms from scratch. Instead, they can use existing code from Lens, for example, or other applications built on Lens. And this is exactly what Favor and Orb, who we had on our podcast before, did. Instead of having to build their own blockchain and social graph, they leveraged Lens open source code so they could focus on building the extra functionality they wanted their respective platforms to have. It also means that if platforms don't put their users first, an entrepreneurial dev could easily create a similar application that does meet users' expectations. And since it's much easier for developers to build Web3 social networks, there will be more options for users. And so users can just jump around to the app that they like the most. It's very easy for them to do that. But interoperability isn't only good for developers. It also means that users can take their followers, their profile data, and content between different platforms, between different applications. For example, Lens supports interoperability by creating NFTs for each action users take on the platform. So posts, your followers, your handle, your account. And since NFTs allow ownership, it allows owners to take them not only around the Lens ecosystem, but also eventually to any protocol or wallet that supports these NFTs. This means you don't have to stick around on platforms that don't value you, and it unlocks some insane options for cross-platform gated content. This to me is one of the most exciting things in Web3, just the ability that you can create a following, create content on one platform, and at any point you can move to another one and everything moves along with you. That is just so exciting and just something we can't even think about, I think, in Web 2. So it's pretty exciting. But let's go to number 2 here. Decentralization means fair censorship. As I said above, censorship is necessary in some circumstances. However, censorship should reflect the values of the wider community using a particular platform. It's a common practice for protocols in Web3 to let their users vote on company decisions. For example, in Web3 Social, this could be voting on censorship guidelines and where to draw the line on different types of content. This means platforms couldn't suddenly ban advertising or content on certain topics. Yeah, I'm talking about you banning crypto advertising, Mr. Zuckerberg. What a shit show that has been for no reason. But in Web3, censorship isn't about promoting or silencing a particular political agenda or curating content to fit a needed narrative. Instead, it's about making platforms open to all who want to use them. It's about enabling diverse, healthy conversations and debates around topics that shape our world. And the other beautiful thing about this is if an application, let's say on top of Lens, does decide to censor, maybe another one doesn't, and you can just move to that one. And if you have a strong community, you're creating great content, your followers will come along with you. And you don't have to do anything for that because, again, they just port over via interoperability standard with NFTs. So it's pretty amazing in how this will allow us to just make the decisions and go to the places that we are treated best. So let's go to number 3, identity, ownership, and portability. Ownership and data portability are arguably the biggest unlocks of Web3 social. We spend most of our time online, and our social identities are just as valuable as our in real life ones. Our social profiles help us find jobs, friends, or even customers if we want to start a business. But without ownership, like in Web 2, our hard-earned networks can be lost without a trace. For example, Jonathan Lintala, the founder of Favor, who we had on our podcast, shared an incident with us where his grandmother actually lost all of her Facebook data because of a simple mistake. She accidentally set her profile age too low and instantly lost 10 years worth of memories, photos, and family interactions. Very similar to what happened to me. When you own your social identity, this can't happen. It also means platforms can't mine your data without your permission. Stani, the founder of Lens, put it perfectly. Having an on-chain profile would mean that you could actually have the ownership of the audience you create and your self-expression, and no one can actually take that away from you. In Web3, no one can take your social profile from you. Instead, you can take it wherever you want without losing your followers or your content. Number 4, control over monetization and engagement. Creator monetization in Web 2 is broken. Platforms use algorithms to determine the most profitable ads to show in between a creator's content, and they take most of the profits, if not all, for doing so. If creators don't like it, there's not much they can do if they want to keep making money. But in Web3, many platforms see the value of creators and are putting them first. For example, Woobits is an upcoming Web3 social platform that gives creators complete control over content monetization. How? Well, basically, every piece of premium content is its own token. So, for example, a crypto trader could post free daily crypto analysis. However, they could easily create a special report that goes beyond what they normally post and token gate it on the Woobits platform. This is the kind of control that Web2 platforms will never give creators. And since social graphs in Web3 are portable, it means that creators can always choose the platforms that best suit their needs. If a new platform provides better monetization options, you can easily take your content and followers with you. And this to me is really, really cool. In Web 2 social, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, you can't really do anything to monetize your content on there. You actually have to move them off, get their email, and monetize via a newsletter, right? Or monetize via your own sponsorships with sponsored ads and things, or build a course. But again, that has to be off platform. So you usually, or you have to create a product. But your content, which you put so much work into, you can't do anything with in terms of monetization. Web3 changes that completely. As I mentioned, you can token gate things. You can make costs for people to follow you, to collect your content. You can do so many different things, which are really, really cool. And some Web3 platforms even plan to reward consumers for their participation. For example, Favor plans to be a share to earn platform where users curate content from around the web with high quality content receiving more rewards. This creates a circular economy where everyone wins. So there's just so many more opportunities and features that you can tie into a social media platform when it is built on a blockchain and when it is built using interoperable features. So down to number 5, trustless instant identity and credential verifications. In Web 2, there's no real digital verification process for credentials. I could literally say that I graduated from Harvard on my LinkedIn profile and no one would bat an eye, especially if I was good at Photoshop. Sure, I may run into problems if I applied to a big tech company, but a small business, chances are they wouldn't know the difference. But in Web3, these type of credentials can easily be verified on-chain without the need for re-verification. Not only can this keep us safer from scammers, but it also means we can easily verify our own identities and credentials without getting documents certified by a third party for each new verification. Using the internet is also much simpler in Web3. All you need is a wallet. You don't need to share your details constantly. No birthday, address, phone number, or anything like that. Just sign a message in your wallet and you are good to go. But one of the coolest parts of Web3 is that you can prove certain information, such as your age, without explicitly sharing how old you are. For example, if you want to buy alcohol, you could prove that you're above the legal age without sharing or stating your actual age. Now, this is while your age isn't exactly sensitive information, zero knowledge proofs are a powerful tool for keeping ourselves safe online, and it can do so many more features in terms of sharing certain pieces of data or information when it's required. Number 6, the last one, Web3 is more secure. So Web2 platforms rely on centralized databases, which provide a single point of vulnerability that hackers can exploit. And the same happens in Web3, with most of the hacks actually coming from centralized actors, such as bridges or centralized blockchains, which aren't true Web3 entities. But through decentralization, cryptography, and methods such as zero knowledge proofs, protocols have the means to safeguard user data at all times. Web3 social also shies away from the intrusive data mining that Web2 platforms use to sell advertising. For example, Facebook's Pixel literally has the power to track all of your moves online. It can tell advertisers the products you click on, whether you added them to your cart, and so much more. So armed with this information, advertisers can easily target you with ultra-specific ads related to the products you clicked on. Jonathan shared with us on a previous podcast that Facebook was even able to track user GPS locations. It can track your mic and listen to the things you're saying and so much more. So this means Facebook housed and may still house sensitive information relating to where people live and the places they frequent. Now imagine if this data was exposed in a breach. So Web3 social is coming. We're still in the very nascent stages of Web3 social networking, but there's plenty happening in this space. We've got foundational protocols like Lens that allow users to truly own an interoperable social profile that they can use across any dApps built on the platform. For example, You could use your lens handle to access Favor without creating a new profile. At the moment, developers are building hundreds of applications on Lens, from new social networks to creator tools and so much more. And this is only one particular social ecosystem in Web3. With the power of open source blockchain, we'll be spoiled for choice regarding social networking. So we don't need to worry about all the problems of Web2 social. Instead, we can look forward to what's coming next. Now, how far are we out from Web3 social becoming the flippening in the new social that we use? It's tough to say. Like I said, the UX is not there yet, but the features are, right? And what's going to happen, in my opinion, is that creators are going to go where they are treated best. And then consumers, the users, they're going to go where the best creators are, right? And so, yeah, right now, it's best to be on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube because that's where you can get the most reach. But soon enough, this will change, and Web3 social networks will be that place where you get the most reach, or maybe not the most reach, but you can earn the most by posting your content. Maybe you have 10x less the amount of reach, but you can make 10x the amount of revenue. That's going to force creators over there. It doesn't matter if they have 100,000 fans or 10,000. If they can make more, they will move to Web3. And the moment that creators see this and understand this, that's when they all move over, and that's when Web3 social begins to flip. And if you are looking to start creating content, I would highly recommend you start playing around in these Web3 social platforms and start learning some of the new features and some of these opportunities. We don't know the playbook yet. We don't know the best way to monetize your content, but that's something we're exploring. And in the new year, it's something that I'm going to create a bunch of episodes on. I'm going to start interviewing a bunch of people in terms of NFT content creation across many different platforms. So not just social, but music and mirror-like stuff and Paragraph where you can NFT your articles. I want to really start to understand how we can monetize content. And so look for that coming in the new year. It'll be a big series and something I want to try to uncover and really deeply understand. But friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it gave you some insightful information regarding where social media is going. And thank you so much for listening and being a consistent listener of Web3 Academy. Again, hit us up with a subscribe, a follow, a like, wherever it is you're listening. That helps us grow. And I wish you all the best.